Hello and welcome to Agent Bounty's monthly AI series. I am your host, Kathy Chambers, and today we're talking about the defensive side of AI, how security teams are using AI to strengthen their defenses, the new threats that they're facing, new tools that they're using. And today I have an awesome panel for you to answer all of these burning questions that you may have about the defensive side of AI. But before we dive into my huge list of questions, I would like to kind of go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves. Bailey, let's start with you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Bailey Marshall. I am the CTO of Stealth Cyber. We do managed security services, but we also are an AI first company. So offensive and defensive security empowered by AI. We're kind of bridging the gap between what it means to utilize AI in an efficient way, but also have a human in the loop. So we have been pretty much at the frontier of using all of these LLMs that are out right now. We're working with Anthropic. There's a lot of really good stuff going on within our company, and so I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Vineel, how about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kathy. I wear a couple of different hats within the cyber security ecosystem. I run sales and partnerships for Equinox, primarily in Americas. I'm also the co-founder at Deeproot Technologies, which is a cybersecurity and data engineering consultancy. We focus deeply on software supply chain and cloud native defense. That's where we are helping a lot of SMBs, bridge that gap.
Awesome. Wade?
My name's Wade Wells. I've been in threat detection response for the last 10 years. I manage a detection engineering team for a password company. I won't say who, but you can look me up. I've been doing everything blue team side, and I've been more of specializing in AI for individual organizations and how to specialize it to you a little bit more than anything else.
Hayden?
My name is Hayden Covington. I'm the Associate Director of Security Operations for the Black Hills Information Security MDR service, or our active SOC service. So I have spent a lot of time over the last couple of years operationalizing different AI models in sort of the MDR and SOC space and how we can utilize them and like Bailey said, keep the human in the loop. It's very important.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate all you guys being here. I also appreciate Agent Bounty for putting on this series for us. We will take your questions, so please drop them in the chat. Around 11:45, Will, the founder of Agent Bounty, will hop on. We'll go through some of those questions that you guys have. But first, we're going to dive into a discussion. And I'm going to start with the Five Eyes Alliance. I will tell you, I'm not a history person. Apparently, this alliance has been around since the 40s. I'm just now hearing about them. So hopefully I'm not the only one. But it's basically United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So it is I guess it's like they have a long history, but right now they're doing a lot of cybersecurity and AI guidance globally. So last week, they issued a warning and they said, hey, it looks like AI will dramatically reshape cyber operations within months, not necessarily years. So I want to start with Wade. Is that what you're seeing? Do you think that's a true statement?
I think it's a partially true statement, right? Like it already is, very much so. But like the whole mythos thing, right? It's definitely marketing, but it definitely works too. It's somewhere in the middle. I've seen myself be able to do things like only like this morning, I brought in a new log source, which usually would have to write a Python script, do some AWS environment. We did it in a five seconds, and Claude went out there, pushed a bunch of stuff. We're done. It's definitely going to change stuff drastically, especially for the blue team. I think for the blue team, it's going to make stuff a lot harder. That's the bigger part. We're going to have to keep more up to date with vulnerability management. We're going to have to have an AI like agentic workflows where it's threat intelligence is going into the workflow into some type of detection mechanism that's building out stuff for those vulnerabilities pretty quickly. But I'm not a doomsayer, I would say. I think the good companies will stay good, but some of the bad companies will really go down. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Hayden, how about you?
Yeah, sort of echoing what Wade said, I've seen a lot of like improvements in these AI models, as a lot of us have, but I think they're almost to the point where they're as smart as they're going to be just the main two differences that we're seeing in terms of improvements are what they can connect to and how long they can run unsupervised. So that's like a big thing with Fable and probably Mythos. I haven't used Mythos, but we've used the lower version of that, which is Fable. Fable could run very, very, very long running jobs on its own, entirely unsupervised, reporting back as needed. And so as these models can run longer and longer unsupervised, these giant agentic loops, theoretically it could go end to end on a lot of fairly dangerous things pretty quickly. Doing them a lot quicker than a human can. And with all the MCPs and connections and integrations that are out there now that are a button away from installing, yeah, it's going to reshape a lot of things.
Yeah. How about you, Bailey? What are you seeing from a leadership perspective? Do you feel like the defensive teams can keep up with how fast AI is evolving?
So I think the biggest issue right now is that, so Hayden mentioned, how long these things can run. It's also the speed too. So the fact that Fable and Mythos are able to find these vulnerabilities so quickly is really going to change the game on how defenders patch them. The biggest thing is that we can find 100,000 vulnerabilities in a day, but there's nothing really right now to patch them. And so it's always been cat and mouse in technology, but the biggest thing right now from a leadership perspective is how do we make decisions that support our defenders patching those vulnerabilities that are found. When it comes to agentic socks and things like that, we can respond only so quickly as a human, but we're also going to have to put in AI to counter AI. And so I think that's a huge issue what we're seeing with companies that are supporting small and medium-sized businesses. They're definitely going to, and they're an important part of the supply chain infrastructure. It is what it is. You can have 100 different major companies out there with AI integrations into their products. But as we saw in 2013, Target got hacked or got breached through an HVAC system or an HVAC company. And so they were a vendor of them. That's a small business. So these small businesses don't have the ability to go and patch these things so quickly. So Stealth Cyber predominantly supports small and medium-sized businesses, and we're struggling from a leadership perspective to make decisions on how to get those things patched for them.
Yeah. Vineel, what about, I know you talk to a lot of cloud and AI providers every day. Like, what are they seeing and what are some leadership concerns in the cloud space?
Okay, I want to play the devil's advocate a bit. I sincerely think that, it's a very good time to be an attacker today rather than a defender. I mean, the blue team has a lot of it stacked against itself, right? So the main problem is with the scale these attacks are happening, right? And it's happening at a rapid pace. And we are struggling to actually find out or how to protect ourselves from these kind of attacks. You no longer need to have some programming background wherein you can write code and launch attacks. If you're good at prompt engineering, a good solid prompt would help you launch large-scale attacks. So that's the biggest challenge that we're seeing. A lot of it is also a hype factor is there. It's important to understand that as a security company or as security people, we need to stick to the fundamentals. We don't need to panic, take a step back, breathe a little bit. Obviously, with Mythos, there are certain gaps. They are finding it. AI is very good at finding a lot of bugs. They're saying that there have been zero-day vulnerabilities that have not been discovered for years. But if you look at it, attackers don't really reveal the vulnerability. They don't go about and publicize it, right? So they just like to exploit it till it's discovered. So all these attacks have been happening in the background and they've been happening for years. But Mythos has just shown the spotlight on them and trying to tell us that these kind of attacks exist. Now, what it cannot do is something that we need to look at. It's not the magic solution, a magic potion that will stop attacks or stop all the vulnerabilities. You still have to deal with runtime environment context. You need to have a policy enforcement in place. And you also have to have asset prioritization in place. So these are the things that we need to grapple with and understand before we can actually panic, I would say.
Yeah. So Bailey, you have a very strong offensive background, right? So what worries you, or not even worries you, but are there concerns that the attackers are using AI faster than you can keep up with? Or is the concern that the organizations are adopting AI so fast without securing it, or is it both?
It's both. And I want to be very careful with how I word this because I could go off in a tangent about this. I think that's what happens when you get a couple nerds in a room and talking about the same thing that they love. Like we just go on. So it's twofold. When we're seeing people develop apps, for example, that's a big thing that AI is being used for. We look at Claude, they can develop beautiful apps very, very quickly. It's DevOps all the way. So when my CEO develops apps, I can't even get into them half the time because we're so password protected. We're so two-factor, multi-factor. It drives me crazy when I'm pen testing these things because I can't get into them because he's locked them down so much. But that's coming from a security company who knows that DevSecOps is the most important thing. Honestly, we put Sec first before Dev because we're thinking about it from a security perspective. But as these AI tools are coming out, they're available to basically anybody. So many people are vibe coding apps, and that's great. Honestly, the tools are there. We should use it for efficiency, but we're completely forgetting the fact that, hey, we've just developed a tool for healthcare data. We've developed a tool for people's financial information. Oh, that app can get hacked very quickly. People don't think about that. So we've tried to definitely spread awareness in the fact that security for these tools that are being created, these apps that are being vibe coded, the AI is all about efficiency and getting it done, but they are not concerned about securing those things. That's where the human comes in and says, hey, logically speaking, policy dictates that we need to have these things in place for this app. And a lot of companies don't have any of those policies. The other side of things, we talk about the app development and stuff like that. We're seeing a lot of people, use these tools for security, but they don't understand what they do. So they're getting access to these AI tools without understanding what data is going through them. The fact that even if you use an API key through Claude, that data is still going back and can be reviewed by developers. So you think that you're data secure because you're not putting it into the web app, for example. And, I'm not prompting it. I'm not putting my customer's information in here. We're safe. All of that information, photos, text, anything that's sent through API is going into a big repository. At this point, the only thing that you could really do to protect yourself from that is to have a sovereign server that sits in your office. But that's not practical for small and medium-sized businesses. Truly, it's not really practical for most businesses, even larger scale. And so it's people developing things without the security in mind and also utilizing the tool without thinking through the potential consequences of putting data into those tools.
Yeah. Wade, from a detection response standpoint, what do you think, besides what Bailey had just mentioned, what are some of the biggest advancements that you've seen, maybe just even the past 6 months?
Oh, man. Where do I start? One of the first biggest things was just writing playbooks, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, if your organization is pretty mature and you have documentation, you can easily build the context for those AIs to write completely customizable playbooks for your organization. Like one thing I do is we have a profile on our entire org, all the tools we use, the teams that use those tools, how they use those tools. And we use that in order to help us write our playbooks. If this detection were to go off, how would you figure out if this is a true positive or false spot? That is the bottom of the barrel of some of the AI, but that was the first thing that I actually wrote. From there, it's just if you have the proper MCPs in place, you can prototype detections and make a PR and have them in place in a matter of 30 minutes, where previously it probably would have taken 3 to 4 hours to build that out. The other part is just like I mentioned before, getting logs in. As a detection engineer, half my job is building detections, but the other half is making sure we can write those detections and bringing those logs. And I would almost argue that is the harder part. With all this AI stuff going in, I almost don't even see detection engineering being a thing in the future. I more have seen us be data shepherds. How do we provide the AI the right data and the right information in order, and then verify that the detections it wrote, right? That's what I see. It's crazy. The other thing is just testing detections too, right? Being able to replay logs easily and have it make logs for you.
Yeah, I love the data shepherds. That's a good. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
No, I could visualize it. Right, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
I have a doomsday talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great, awesome. I look forward to hearing it. Hayden so you work in SOC, right? Well, I mean, I know you had a really fancy title at the beginning, but I didn't know you had the assistant director title. So I was like, does that mean he's still working in the trenches? But has AI made SOC life easier or harder? It sounds like harder, but I'm not in it day in and day out like you are.
Honestly, at least for us, it's made it easier. The part that's made it harder is now we can do so much more. So there's less excuse to not do certain things that we just didn't have time to do anymore. Like we have a pretty impressive agentic detection engineering pipeline, which Wade and I have talked a little bit about since we're both detection engineer nerds, but we haven't talked a lot about it. We want to do a talk on it at some point, but I could go into our Git repo right now and I could drop in some research and, the pipeline would write the rule and it would test the rule and it would assess the rule and it would write, unit tests and it would push it. And that would also run additional validations. And while the rule's burning in, it would also tune the rule automatically. So we can do a lot of this stuff agentically. And it allows us to move very, very quickly on these key sorts of tasks. But sort of to the point I said earlier on in this, this topic is like, it makes it so there's no excuse to not do all the other things now. Like if a detection is needed, if there's a threat hunt that we need to do, the barrier to actually getting that done is so low that it's very difficult to not go and do that thing. So while AI has made it easier for at least me as a blue teamer to get a lot of things done very quickly, it also means, at least for somebody like me who always has a backlog of stuff to do, it's very difficult to detach from that because each task is, a couple really solid prompts and supervisions of those prompts away from getting done. And so it's hard to justify stepping away and doing other things when, man, we need this detection. It would take me 30 minutes to write this detection right now and push it. So it's made it easier, but it has also, scaled up the workload, I think is how I would put that.
Yeah. Hey, you guys having fun? Like, that's a serious question. Like,
I'm having a
Are you
great
having
time.
fun playing with this? For real.
Oh,
Like,
I-
Millie's post today, like, posing on her.
All weekend, every weekend, which is part of the problem.
Yeah.
I have felt like, I don't know if you guys like played a lot of video games, but to me, a part of it is like I've put in a cheat code and it's a lot easier now.
Yep.
But it's almost like I've put in this cheat code. It's got a lot easier. I need to find something harder to do, right? Something the AI can't do. Like I'm getting a little bored. I'm at that point.
Yeah, I spend a lot of free time working on this stuff. Like Wade mentioned, I can't remember if we were live or before we went live about your home lab stuff that you have going on,
Yeah.
Wade. I've done a lot of similar things and we've chatted about that. I have a lot of custom agents that just run continuously on my work computer to check on various things for me and, notify me if there's something I need to look at because in the slew of SOC workload, it's very difficult to come up for air at times. So if I have an agent come and talk to me and remind me to go check on my team's messages, that sometimes helps.
Well, Hayden, it sounds like you need somebody to talk to you because nobody ever calls you unless there's a problem. So
Yes,
I'm glad you
yeah.
have an agent friend.
Yeah, I love to check like my fitness trackers when like our owner calls me or my director calls me because the stress levels and the heart rate just spike because I'm like, oh no, something has happened.
Funny.
See, everybody's working on all of like the security side of stuff. I'm such a nerd and I'm working on, I came from a psychology background previously before my technology. So I'm working on agentic persistent memory and identity through AI and embodiment and stuff like that. So soldering things together to do haptics and to do like, there's a couple of things out there that people are putting on GitHub where it's like, you slap your Mac and it does this thing and, like all sorts of stuff. And so that's kind of like my like other tech side of stuff. Like, so all of that stuff is like completely off of security and more on the tech stuff. So I love to see how we're all just like so colorful and just doing our own thing.
No, that sounds like Bailey. That sounds like a good talk. Like that's a talk I want to go to.
How I built a Terminator. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I know. Every time I explain it to someone, they're like, "So you're building Skynet?" And I'm like, "No, like I promise, it's like the opposite, but it's same but different."
Do any of your families ever question this? Because I have an agent now that my wife can order groceries through. Like it'll pull from our task list and pull our groceries and our meals and recipes. And then I give it a little bit of attitude. It has a little too much, I think. So she'll like show me afterwards, like, what is he talking about? I'm like, hey, I don't know what to tell you. But hey, the groceries are ordered now. So there we go.
Before we got on, I was actually talking about how I have an agent that goes online and looks up all the World Cup games and then sees who wins and then actually edits my Google Calendar to say who's playing in what game at what time.
Ooh, so, beautiful. I went to an England game, so definitely World Cup fan.
Looks like AI has freed up a lot of time for you guys. Yeah.
I don't know, Vineel. This sounds like they're just having fun with it. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I think I play less video games, and this is my video games now, I guess.
Oh, gosh. All right, let's get back on security, though. That was a fun little break, so thank you for that. So, Vineel, let's talk about what are some of the biggest gaps you see between AI adoption and actually securing AI when you talk to organizations?
Gaps, I see it as a two-pronged approach, right? Like the time for triage and remediation has reduced a lot. And teams would be inundated with all the alerts that are happening. And I think blue teams would have a lot of difficulty with triaging and remediation. So I see teams moving more towards an enforcement-first policy. That is the immediate step that they're doing. The second part, I like to have the conversations that we have with security leaders is more on how their entire AI governance framework is evolving over a period of time. What kind of maturity it is going to be, because it is evolving. It is in a circle. It's going to get matured over time, and it's important to have the right fundamentals in place. We can't repeat the same mistakes we have done with new technology in the past, hoping that the latest tech being implemented or you would cover all the cracks. You need to make sure that the right frameworks and the right governance policies are in place. So I think those are the biggest challenges that we are seeing. And I think security leaders are on the right track in that, on trying to get that sort of visibility on their entire AI stack. How do we deal with it? What kind of access control needs to be happening? Not because we are not just talking about the humans and the employees, we are also talking about the non-humans that have access to all of this. Right? So I think that is more paramount, and I see that being one of the major problems ahead.
Yeah. Bailey, as a CTO, what are you seeing in the governance arena? I know that's maybe not as fun for you since you're hardcore techie, but like when it comes to governance, what kind of conversations are you having in your organization?
Yeah, so my CEO and I just recently went and got our ISO 4200 lead AI auditor certifications. And so because of the fact that we are going through these organizations that are focused on GRC and, we're a global company, so name your country's specific compliance regulations. And they really don't have much to do with AI, how to use AI in the organization, the safeguards. There's no acceptable use policies put in place. So people are using, AI to put in, customer information, and there's no training and things like that. I kind of mentioned that before. And so from a governance perspective, we are seeing that not only do people not have policies in place, but genuinely, they just don't know how to implement AI into their company. And so it's kind of one of those things where you've got one half of the population that really want to use AI. They're implementing it already, but they don't have any policies in place and they're not compliant. And truth be told, globally speaking, there's really not one great framework to go off of. We're kind of all just figuring it out as we go now that we're implementing it more in the organizations. There's another part of the population that are just scared to use AI. They don't want to use it. And it's an education thing. They don't know how to use it securely. They don't understand the technical process that goes into it, and say, hey, just because you utilize ChatGPT doesn't mean, ChatGPT is going to come out of your computer and steal all of your data. How things are actually being used in these organizations. And that's not a good thing, because there is a very finite amount of, a small group of companies that know what they're doing. They've got their policies in place, and they've got, their employees up to speed. Maybe I could count on my hand how much of a percentage that is globally. So I hate the argument that AI is inevitable, because one half's going to say, well, no, it's not. We don't have to use it. The other half's going to say, the AI is inevitable. It doesn't really matter what your stance is. You come into contact with it daily. If you do a Google search, they've already got AI results out there summarizing what you need. And you may not use it. You may not even look through it, but it's there. That stuff is on your computer and you're using it daily. It's just like people said when we came out with the internet, and we came out with other technology. Oh, we're not going to use that. We're not going to need that. It's everywhere now. And you go on most of your apps on your phone, they've got new AI features, new AI chatbots and stuff. So the bottom line is that governance is a huge thing, and we're going through these companies and doing AI assessments and AI audits, and they've got nothing in place. And it's no fault of anybody's. We're just all in an age where nobody really knows what they're doing, and we're all just trying our best to figure it out.
Yeah. Wade, you go to, and Hayden too. I don't know about Bailey and Vineel, but you guys go to a lot of conferences and you do talks and you're out in the community a lot. Do you feel like you have a new job now? I feel like you guys, maybe everybody on the panel, your job's kind of doubled, because you have your day-to-day life as a security professional, but now you're really in the education arena, right? Like trying to educate everything. You guys don't even know everything yet, right? So as you're learning, you're educating everybody. Do you feel like your job's gotten a little harder when it comes to that?
I definitely feel like it. Recently, I taught an intelligence course, and then just mentioned how I had something about AI detections, and they wanted me to just deep dive that instead of going into intelligence, because there wasn't enough information on it. And of course they wanted network diagrams and information on exactly how I built it. And I'm like, I can't give you guys all that right now. I don't think there's a lot of stuff on AI and blue teaming right now, but I don't feel like the market is particularly saturated in the right areas, to tell you the truth, how to properly adopt it in certain locations, or how to properly mold it to your individual organization. There's a lot of stuff. I will mention, it seems like a lot of the education is definitely on MSPs, bringing it into your environment, but not necessarily how to customize it within yourself, or how for you to properly use it or log it or verify or authenticate it. Then I'm going to tell you right now, AI logging is a whole nother story. I'll let Hayden talk about that one. No.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, exactly what Wade said, right? Is a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of AI content out there, and I'm not just talking about AI generated content, but content around AI, most of which is probably AI generated. Right. Most of which is probably AI generated, but a lot of it is so surface level. As soon as you peel back any part of it, this no longer works for you, because that is a curated use case for that person, for their specific need, and it probably gets 10% of your need actually done, right? And so what I've found is one of the bigger gaps, and I've been trying to find time to make content around this. I'm almost there with some sort of workshop, but how do you work with an AI, almost like assistant, in a way that's durable, that makes sense, and is actually effective, right? Because you see it's almost like fitness influencers, where they talk about, here's how to wake up early, and the video starts and they basically just say, wake up early. Okay, well, that doesn't help me in any way. So how do you actually make it useful? And it all boils down to, AI is a tool. It's just a tool. It is not magic. It's not going to, you're not going to log into ChatGPT and all of a sudden all your problems are solved. Just like if you're on a SOC, you open up the sim and it's not just all of a sudden solving your problems. You don't buy a SOAR and everything's magically fixed. It's a tool. You have to know how to use it. You have to know its limitations, and you also have to use it the right way. Like if you can get a lot of good out of it, but you can also get a lot of bad out of it without realizing it sometimes if you don't use it correctly. I feel like that's probably one of the bigger gaps is just, we have to teach a lot of individuals, like, you're trusting the output of a tool here that isn't 100% accurate. There's variance in its responses, and a lot of that variance comes down to how much do you know what you're talking about this topic? Because it can very quickly latch on to your incorrect information or your assumptions and treat them as absolute truth. And I'm sure we've all come across it as, AI says something so confidently and just so incorrect at the same time. Like I gave it all my Strava data at the end of last year because I wanted metrics. And so it gave me this rundown of all my metrics from all my runs and stuff over the last year. And I was like, hold on, something's wrong here. I remember a lot of runs throughout these earlier months, and I questioned it, and it told me, oh yeah, I averaged, the first 8 months of the year once we did the most recent couple. I was like, I cannot believe you did this.
I think one point is like trash in, trash out type of deal, right? If you're not putting in good context into it beforehand, it's not going to give you good context out, right? And that's why building up the context around how you're using it, your organization, and then having not just the proper prompt, but having the proper agent with the proper information and giving it access and then the right prompt takes a wombo combo to get it working.
Yeah, our detection engineering agents instructions are thousands of lines with tons of documents of reference code and reference events and example queries, and like you have to give it quality information, just like a person that you're training. Like if you hand a job to a new hire and you tell them go do this work, they're probably not going to do it how you want them to do it. But if you can train this individual how to operate, you can show them good versus bad and give them feedback and train them along the way. Eventually, they'll probably get it right most of the time.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, this is kind of off topic, but, I've been involved in a lot of course building. I worked for 2 companies that did IT cyber training. And so I was thinking about how long it takes to build a really solid, good course. And by the time you guys build it, you're going to have to redo it.
I've legit done that. Like I've legit started doing something and then some new AI feature came out and I'm like, all right, flip table. Like I'll just wait. Like, yeah.
It's the classic case of building a product, right? Like if you are happy with the product you built, then you build a shitty product. You're never satisfied with what you have built.
Yeah, that's a true statement. Bailey, I do a lot of reading and I read a lot of news, and especially in the AI cyberspace. And a word I see all the time is autonomous security operations. Is that a reality right now, to have just your security operations run autonomously? Is that like a buzzword that you think that we're seeing a lot in the media?
Yeah, it's definitely what we're doing. I mean, that's just it. And if we're not doing it, someone else is. But that's kind of what I go back to at the very beginning. I said there's got to be a human in the loop because, we kind of all have hit it at this point. AI is going to, we call it confabulation. It's going to create content to fill in gaps, because the way that these models are trained is to, provide an accurate output. That's just, it's an assistant. It's designed to be effective to the user. And so if you are going to put content into it, it's going to fill in gaps where it's doesn't have the information. So with autonomous security, that is true. We've got agents running pen tests, we've got agents running our SOC, but we have to be in there to confirm those things. And so, for example, for me running a pen test, it's going to take me give myself 5 days to do a pen test on a web app, right? Because I'm manually going in there, I'm manually checking all of the security findings, I'm checking everything that in my checklist, my brain, I need to do manually. If I run an autonomous agent into that environment, basically what I'm having it do is go through that checklist for me. And then I can go through and see, okay, it did these things. This is accurate. I see the information that it output. That's exactly what I would have done. Moving on. And I can maybe condense that time frame into 1 day of agentic autonomous work, going through and validating all of those things, and then spend the next day or two confirming that that's reality. And then it also frees up, if I've got 5 days total to do a test, it gives me, the extra 2 days to go do things that I manually need to look at. For example, if there's something a little bit more nuanced, it's the same thing going in the defensive side. We're getting alerts based on certain things that are happening. There's a crypto, leak or something like that. We've got our SOC running. And so what we'll do is we have our team getting these alerts and saying, hey, our autonomous agent has found this thing on this environment. And our clients are aware that these things are acting on their systems. And then we go through and our SOC analysts, our security engineers are manually validating that. But in that time that our autonomous agent is going through and working through and seeing those alerts come up, our analysts and our engineers are able to take care of other things that they need to. So absolutely, this is what's happening in the industry, large and small security corporations. It's what's happening, it's there. And the biggest thing that we can do as companies is to disclose that information to our clients. I know a lot of security companies out there that just want to use the latest and greatest tools, but they're going through and they're processing this information without their clients knowing at all what's going on. And so your clients, you want people to trust you and have, faith that you are going through and there is a human in there interacting with your system. And so disclosure, and we haven't had any issues with it, but making sure that people understand exactly what the tools are being used for, as well as the process of security. Because a lot of times right now, we're still seeing that people just want a human approach. They don't want to be outsourced to some other technology or to some other location. So from a leadership perspective, that's something that we take very seriously.
Yeah. Vineel, is that what you're seeing too, as far as companies? Are they being transparent about the tools that they're using?
Some of them are. I think it's a direction that needs to come down from the leadership. They need to convey it and promote that culture of transparency. Unfortunately, security is still a taboo in some areas, and I think that we need to be more transparency is the only way we can build trust in there. Another aspect that I feel that is being overlooked is the business continuity aspect, especially when you're using the latest models. We have already seen with Fable what happened with Fable. Once it's off, do you have a backup in mind, in place, to address that? So that is also something that I think teams need to look into.
Yeah. I was thinking while Bailey was talking about the security operations and automation, Wade, you had mentioned the role kind of turning into data shepherds, which I like because I can remember things like that. How else will your role change? And how else, Hayden, will your role change as things become more automated from the defensive side of things?
Yeah, the big thing I talk about building into anything that's like AI related is easy validation, right? Like a way that I can make sure and go verify you did this correctly and quickly. One of the ways I do this, like within our AI, when our agent replies to stuff, it actually gives me a link to just straight go into our SEM and then show me those logs, right? Like I want to go look at the logs. I don't want to trust you most of the time. And over again, in any type of way, if we can build in some type of validation within the AI, then we become both this data shepherd and a knowledge shepherd, right? Like, okay, yes, this is correct. Or once again, we could teach it and say, no, this is actually incorrect. Here's where you went wrong. Here's the query you should have used, and continue along that road. The one thing I'm more scared about, though, is that this is already requiring a lot of working knowledge, right? Me, as someone who's been in the field for 10 years, like I have a lot of knowledge around this, but how is someone newer going to come up who is going to be using AI for their entire career? I do believe people are going to get there, but it's going to be a much different path than what I did. Hopefully. Yeah.
Do you see that too, Hayden? Your role changing?
Definitely. I feel like I've spent, at least myself, a lot more time measuring things versus actually executing on this stuff. I've done a lot more planning and a lot more measuring and a whole lot less executing. So I've found AI to be very good at executing on my plans. There's the plan mode and all these AI models, but that plan is only going to be as good as, you help it become. Otherwise, it's just going to lean towards what most AI does, which is the most generic, uniform output that could be. So I usually end up iterating on a plan for a while and sending it off. And then I spend a lot of other time measuring sort of the outputs of these different projects. So how are we doing on detection coverage? Do we have any gaps on, our SLA coverage, and how can we work on this stuff? And then to Wade's point, I also spend a lot of time thinking about that too, is how do people new to the field know how to use AI? Because we've had to do a lot of QA, a lot of quality assurance work on our SOC tickets, just to make sure that we don't have any mistakes that bleed through from anything that helps with AI summarization or AI aggregation of data, because it can very confidently hallucinate things. And so if you don't have that background knowledge, it's very hard to recognize, especially when you get deep into the technical weeds. It's really hard to tell when it's wrong about something, because they're usually very minor but very critical details that are hallucinated or even partially incorrect. So we've established a lot of rules in our SOC that you can utilize these tools like the rest of the core team, but if you are ever in question about anything that it's telling you and you do not know for a fact that it is true, you must bring on a senior level resource. Like you have to bring in somebody else on the team that understands these fundamentals, that understands the foundations of the work. Otherwise, we're opening ourselves up to a pretty bad mistake, and a mistake that's not acceptable. And that's our human in the loop, right? Is you have the human that is in the loop on that AI workflow. But if that human is even hesitant, and I've even seen it with some of my senior level folks, is they'll be dealing with a very technical investigation, and they'll reach out and say, hey, I'm pretty sure this is what I would like to do. The AI agrees with that, but can you weigh in on this too? And so there's always going to be some amount of that. And AI just, I think, makes it a little more prominent. Do you agree with that, Wade? I saw you. Yeah.
One thing that I don't think anyone's really talked about yet is, how bug bounties are getting just so overfilled with all of these requests, and most of them are good, but some of they're poorly. Sometimes they're just completely written by AI. This is also happening to SOC leadership. These SOC analysts are writing stuff so quickly and so fast that sometimes we can't verify the quality in which they're writing anymore. And it's the same thing with detections. Like I had someone push a PR with like 10 detections in it, and I'm like, it's going to take me like 2 hours, like to make sure, like I have to use AI to then go verify your AI type of deal, so you have to do that, put in these guidelines or these rails in order to verify with people and to make sure that people are using it in the correct way are very important, but also harder because this is more policy based, right?
Yeah. Awesome. I just want to remind our viewers real quick that in about 3 or 4 minutes, we're going to be taking your questions. So please drop them in whatever chat, whatever media that you are watching on. Please drop your questions and we'll take those in just a few minutes. Bailey, what do you think is the biggest defensive skill that cybersecurity professionals are going to need, let's just say within the next year? What kind of things may need to change that you haven't been doing historically?
Yeah, so this isn't really a conspiracy. There's something out there that's kind of going around that's called Q-Day. And Q-Day is essentially the place where, quantum computing gets to a point where we can actually legitimately decrypt very, very long encryption keys. It's not a conspiracy theory, even though it sounds like one, because in reality, quantum computing is getting there and we're getting there fast. So our biggest thing that we need to do as defenders is really secure the data storage and transfer of that data, because in reality, the way that these AI systems are working, especially as quantum computing starts to ramp up, we've already talked about its speed and the length of time that these AI systems can run autonomously and just make decisions on their own. That stuff is going to get taken at that point. And when those secrets, that sensitive data it gets to the point where it can be decrypted, it's going to really shake up a lot of things, both for personal reasons. We've got Social Security in the United States, so that could become a problem. We've got banks and health data that could completely wipe out a lot of the supply chain industry and it's basically gonna, there is the potential for things to implode on themselves. That's just the nature of the route that we're going. There's a lot of reason why governments are having discussions around AI and stuff like that, because quantum computing in and of itself is not AI, but it will enable AI to do certain things. So right now, what my perspective is, and everybody's probably got a different opinion, we really need to work on safeguarding the data that we currently have stored and the transfer of it, because the transfer of it inevitably is going to be the biggest low-hanging fruit. When you're starting to send data back and forth on networks, it's just there. That stuff can be intercepted and they don't even need to decrypt it. Interception is all they need, really, and they can sit on it for the next 10 years until we get to that point and then decrypt it later. And that seems like a long time, but a lot of us are at an age where we're gonna see that happen. And so in reality, and I don't really have an answer for that. To be perfectly transparent, I don't have the answer for what that looks like and how we secure that better than we already are. But I have to feel like it's using AI to defend those things. And when we have, LLMs like Fable come out and then get rescinded because there are security concerns, there's a reason why. But at the same time, if we're rescinding LLMs in a certain state, a certain region, a certain country, there are other countries that are already doing what we're doing behind the scenes. So there's really not a good answer. I said cat and mouse earlier, and that's really true. It's basically the AI space race at this point. So defensively speaking, we need to figure out how to secure where the data is going.
Awesome. Thank you, Bailey. Will was going to join us. He's the founder of Agent Bounty, but he got pulled into another call. I know you guys know how that is. So while Bailey was talking, I was like going through the different platforms trying to find questions. So here is one. What should organizations be doing today that they'll wish they would have done sooner? Vineel, you want to take that one?
Yeah, put in the proper guardrails. Like I said, it's going to be an enforcement first policy that you need to look at. Look at gaining visibility on your AI assets, how you're and what kind of enforcements you're doing on them. That would be, I think, the number one priority.
Bailey, you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I think that the big thing that we have talked about really is governance and policies. But at the end of the day, people are still going to use AI. And so how do we put a barrier between people using AI and security? So we've got a human, we've got the AI tool. How do we put a barrier in there that adds a security layer in there? Because, if we're using these tools, that's great. Policies are great, but humans are going to make mistakes. And so, for example, at our company, we offer a service that essentially redacts information in the browser when you're sending it to, an AI tool. So you can still utilize the tool, but without expecting, you're going to have your policies, you're going to have your acceptable use policies, but it just takes one person to put something stupid into, ChatGPT, Claude, and get it sucked up in there. And people oftentimes want to argue that, just because the data went into into Anthropic servers, it doesn't mean that someone can just spit it out somewhere else. But that information, those models are constantly getting updated with training data that's coming in, especially from a consumer perspective, which most small medium businesses are actually using. They're using the free version. That data is getting in there unless you opt out of it. So your customer information is getting trained on new models, and inevitably that could end up getting spit out in the future. Not because someone went and tried to prompt inject, Anthropic's data servers, but because it's in the training data. So there needs to be a layer of security between those two things. So small businesses and medium businesses really need to consider their policy perspective, but also a technical control in place.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. What security role changes most because of AI? Wade, you got a response for that one?
No, not a good one.
I love the honesty. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Like, I have discussed this with a very large amount of red team friends. Okay. Like, to put it lightly, who's more screwed? Like me being attacked or them losing their job type of deal. As of right now, with the way that AI is being pitched as like a red team, like silver bullet, almost, right? I don't believe it, but I think it's being pitched enough where people are going to believe it, and it's going to affect them more than it's going to affect us, at least as a job perspective, right? Whereas in a job perspective is a lack of job, if that means, or being able to utilize the job as much as possible, or being able for them to utilize it. And then on the flip side, the blue team is just going to be fielding way more alerts than ever, right? And not just more alerts, but more complicated based attacks in quick manners. So I'm just waiting for like a living off the AI attack that goes mainstream and big, right? Where someone doesn't even really do anything on the box. They just run the AI all the way through and pivot and steal data that way.
Yeah. This is a question, sort of comment from Sunshine 24.7. What a thought. Someone uses multiple agents to make a thing, and then you use multiple agents to verify their work. How much power would that use for said task?
How much power?
Like,
well,
how much water?
Because we've been reading a lot about how AI and the data centers and, there's, how they could be ruining local areas. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Brutal. I think it's a time bomb waiting to happen, right? That just hasn't ticked yet, hasn't detonated yet. We'll see.
All right.
I think there's a big reason why a lot of these people that have worked at these major AI companies are, and in the AI part of it, are coming off of their jobs, either leaving or being let go and going off the grid. I think that's probably a pretty telling reason. I think there's probably some telling reasons why.
Yeah, I haven't studied about the data usage, so I don't have any intelligent questions to ask about this. So thank you for answering. Hayden, what is the first security area that will become largely autonomous?
Oh, man. I've thought about this some, and I hate to say it because it's where I started my career, but I feel like it might be GRC. I feel like a lot of GRC, I have a couple of friends that work in CMMC and SOC 2 and different spaces like that, where they've told me like, hey, if you give me a couple months and an R&D budget, a lot of this stuff, I'm checking boxes, I'm going through and I'm running commands to make sure things are validated. I'm doing a lot of things that is largely an automatable task that just requires some human validation. And then if you have the correct templates for different policies, if you have the correct, checklists for your audits, like a lot of that could be automated with a singular human sort of behind that wheel running a larger scale audit that would normally take a team. I definitely don't think we're at the point now where I would want an AI to come and run my SOC 2 audit. I think that's a bad idea. But I think we're coming more and more to the point where what would previously take a team of multiple people to do a larger scale audit could theoretically be done by somebody who's fairly savvy and well connected with AI.
Great response. I'm not sure I quite understand this full question, but maybe Vineel, you can help out. Where should organizations draw the line between speed and human oversight? Maybe that's kind of the human in the loop that we've been talking about. Vineel, you have any comments on that?
That's a tough one. It actually depends on what. I think the first thing you need to ask from an organization perspective is, what do you want to achieve with AI? What your business goal is, right? Like how would that help you? And from that, you would get the rest of the answers is what I think would be the best way to go about it. I think there's no one size fits all, and it has to be on a case to case basis.
Anybody else want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two loops, one of which is sort of optimized for speed, which is like your agentic workflows. Your goal is to have that be agentic and to be fast. But there are other workflows where you have to have a little less speed and a little more human interjection. So one of the things that I'll see sort of in like interpersonal interactions in a workplace is people will send me Claude output for a question that I ask, or we'll be working on something and I'll just get a block from the AI or a screenshot of the output. And to an extent, that's fine in specific situations. But there will be times where I ask someone a question and they send a block from ChatGPT or Claude and they say, this is what Claude says. And so I say, okay, well, what do you say? Because sometimes it's a wall of text. Other times it's, almost like offsetting the work onto the AI model, which, if I wanted the answer from the AI, I would have gone and asked the AI myself. I'm asking a human because I need a human to do some extra things. So I think that there has to be the speed, different workflows that you have that are all around, get this done as quick as possible, have your validations, have your tests and all these other things. But then there has to be a different sort of workflow, usually human to human or more interpersonal stuff where you cannot just have massive speed in these interactions. There has to be more, kind of on the level communication. And I appreciated Wade's comment about using an AI to review somebody's AI pull requests. So that is like, on one hand, a very interesting slope, like he said. But on the other hand, I've had a lot of success in doing that because it comes down to I have a model and a project that I've worked on a lot that I trust the output as much as I would trust a resource on my team. And so I could say, I'm not going to be able to look at 30,000 lines of code changes here, but I know how to tell this AI to go look for specific things that I would check, and it can do them in bulk and come back to me and highlight any issues that I actually need to spend time on.
Yeah, this is a little off topic, but it made me think about Bailey on your post. Somebody, because you wrote if you have a question about AI, ask me. And somebody on the posted a comment that said, why wouldn't I just ask AI about AI? And it kind of made me laugh. And I'm like, well, I mean, the human connection is still an important thing. Do you think that we've kind of got away from the human connection since AI has come into play?
I'm laughing so hard because that was our CEO razzing me.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, it made me laugh because I was like, well, I mean, good point, but
yeah. Gosh, that's our whole company. So yes and no. I think that AI is doing a lot of stuff in a way that helps us, get things done more efficiently. At the same time, his comment is pretty self-aware. And I think that that's the majority of us, of our thoughts. We're using AI so much that we're very aware that we need to go and hang out with friends and hang out with family. Most of us want to step away from, our systems and our server builds and things like that to go do things. And so I think it's twofold. I think it is, it's about the mental headspace that people are in. If they're treating AI like it is the answer to all of their problems, they might be in a situation where they're probably just focusing on that. But I think also when we're in this industry and we're using these tools, I think it makes us, have the conversations. Someone asked about, oh, well, how much power are the data centers using? We're very self-aware that, there are things and consequences that AI have. And so one of those things could be, disconnect from human experience. And so being aware of those things, utilizing those tools almost makes us more self-aware, I think, aside from him razzing me on my own LinkedIn post.
No, I mean, I thought it was funny, and I was going to make a smart ass comment underneath it, but I'm glad I didn't because it's your CEO. But
that's our whole company.
Kathy, I cannot come onto the show today due to your comment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all fighting about the World Cup in our comments. We have a whole Brazilian team. I'm an England fan, so
add weight.
It's all free game. It's all free games.
I was rooting for Japan. I'm gonna say it.
All right. So we are getting ready to end the show, but before I do that, let's kind of go around the circle and talk about any talks you have coming up, webinars, any free resources that you can provide the community. Let's start with Wade.
Yeah, I am not doing anything. Okay. I have the summer cleared for a reason. So I have a 4-month-old and a 3-year-old. So I've been trying to not do stuff. I will be at DEF CON and have nothing planned to just walk around. But I do have a really good 20-minute talk from the BHIS Threat Hunting Summit about everything you need to start an AI program, like all the file systems, all the documents and stuff like that, where I think you need to jumpstart your program in order to manipulate the AIs to fit you as best. I don't remember what it's called. If you look up Wade Wells Start Hunting Summit, I'm sure we can find it later. But Hayden has way more stuff than me.
Yeah, Hayden, what you got going on?
Oh man, throw me under the bus. So I'm teaching a class called Foundations of Security Operations at Wild West Hack and Fest Deadwood, which is Black Hills' yearly conference that we do in South Dakota in October, and then in February in Denver. And so that course is basically covering the fundamentals that I harp on people to actually know. So how do you be a SOC analyst without, utilizing AI to do all the work for you? Because then it's easier to get the AI to do the work for you because you know how to do the work.
I love it. Bailey, how about you?
So we've got no talks right now. I've spent the past few years doing like speaking engagements and stuff, and now is my time to step back and let our younger staff do those things. So we're really encouraging our engineers to go do that stuff. But we will be at Black Hat, DEF CON this year. And then on our website at stealthcyber.io, we've got a free AI assessment to help assess, an assessment to help you assess, to help you figure out, where you kind of are on, hey, I would like to use AI in my company. Where, am I prepared? Things like that. It's a very, it's like a 5-minute assessment. And that will send, you some information about where you are kind of at with implementing AI if you are prepared. And then also that kind of follows on to, hey, we can sit down and have something more thorough for you guys. And so there's that. And we're also very big on the security operations side of utilizing AI in your security operations. So right now we've got a red team. It's called the CART. It's the Certified AI Red Team Engineer certification that we have put out, which we've had like 4 failures recently. Everybody's been telling us that it's really hard, and we're like, good, that was the point. So we are also in the education space too. My CEO Chris and I are huge. We've done podcasts before, like our own podcasts. I've been in the education space for the past couple of years, just trying to get information out there. And that's why we come and do talks like this on, things, because we just want people to understand where they're at, whether that be for their organization or just their personal use case. So that's what we've got going on.
Cool. Vineel, how about you?
Yeah, I don't have much going on. I'll be there at Black Hat and DEF CON, so I would love to run into you guys. And apart from that, we are doing a couple of mentoring initiative that's close to my heart, and we're just laying the roadmap for that.
Cool. Guys, I did have somebody message in. Do you have any resources for template prompts we could use? Or do you know where they could find those resources?
So
I'm trying to remember.
AI.
Yeah, I'm sure Wade has template prompts. Templates are not my thing. I like plugins. So there's a plugin on GitHub you can find called Superpowers, which I found to be really helpful. So it's like a software development sort of plugin for Claude or Codex, and it'll help you write unit tests, help it brainstorm before it starts to execute on things. I found that one to be really beneficial.
I use one called Agencies Agents. So it's a bunch of different agents and how people built it. And usually what I'll do is this isn't just for security though. It's like they have sales, they have product, they have media. So I like having a broad range of different agents. I can go and see how other people think on it. Where I've found actual sales OSINT agents that I have been like, ooh, I'm going to take this because I can use that and come at it from a different angle. So
I like that name, agency agents.
Yeah,
That was cute marketing. I like it. I do want to take just a second to also thank our sponsor, Agent Bounty. For those of you who don't know what Agent Bounty is, they are fairly new. They're an AI native end-to-end exposure management platform to find, prove, and fix. So surfacing only the findings that can prove are exploitable with AI-generated remediation across your full digital attack surface. And, as we've been talking about, a human in the loop. Security should protect, not paralyze. You can actually try their interactive demo. They are at agentbounty.ai, or you can just jump into the Agent Bounty Discord. They're pretty active in there. I know we have a lot of folks in there right now. So thank you, everybody who's in Discord, LinkedIn, YouTube. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you guys to the awesome panel. I will tell you that like people were super stoked to see all of you guys together. So I took advantage of it. I was bragging on my A team for the past 2 weeks. Yeah, I love it. I love it. People love you. In case you didn't know, I know nobody ever tells Hayden. So Hayden, people do love you.
Yeah. Good to know. I need to remember that every so often.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. And thank everybody. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.